Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, class. This is Professor Coyote. Welcome you back to our Let's Play of Civilization 6, our American campaign under the guiding hand of President Teddy Roosevelt. Bully for you for coming back. Now, as we're here on the screen showing Mr. Roosevelt, you know that it's another time here for an interesting anecdote, factoid, and lesson about our first president of the 20th century. Now, as some of you may know, Teddy Roosevelt declined to run for a second term after 1908. He could have easily run it because at the statutes of the time, he was only considered to actually have been elected for one term because he gained his first term due to the assassination of William McKinley. So everyone was more than willing to let him basically run for what would technically run for a second election. Now, Teddy Roosevelt at the time felt that he considered his first term to be a first term, so he was not going to break what was known as the Washington precedent of two terms. Something that a later Roosevelt would, of course, actually break, and then the 25th Amendment came about to make sure that two terms was it. But anyway, this isn't really about the 1908. This is actually about where he realized he regretted that he making that decision to not run for a third term. He felt that there was a lot to do that he could still bring, especially after William Howard Taft, his successor, wasn't exactly doing things in the way that he felt they should. So President Roosevelt tries to run, well, I should say ex-President Roosevelt, tries to run for another term in 1912. He creates a third party called the Progressive Party, also known as the Bull Moose Party, due to his own pick of mascot. And an interesting thing about this is not only was he fairly actually almost successful as a third-party candidate, he got 27% of the vote, which has not been surpassed by anybody as a third party before or since. But so one of the most interesting things was that he was involved in a incident just before the election. This was in Chicago. I believe it was in Chicago. Let me triple check here. It was in Milwaukee. I'm sorry. It was in Milwaukee when President Roosevelt was making a speech. He was getting ready for a campaign speech. It was in October 1912 when somebody shot him. Someone had the brass cojones to shoot Theodore Roosevelt. But what was interesting about it was what actually saved him. You see, Teddy Roosevelt has always been known as a great orator. He wrote very long speeches, he talked up and down a blue streak. And so, when he was shot, not only did it go through his glasses case, which, you could expect that would be in his pocket, being that he's worn spectacles for about his entire life, but it also passed through his speech. His speech was 50 pages. This was a campaign speech. This wasn't just like, this wasn't a State of the Union. It was a campaign speech. It was folded once, so essentially went through 100 pages and a glasses case. And that's what everyone figured actually saved his life in 1912, because it did strike him, but it went into his pectoral muscle. It didn't go any further than there because of the slowing down due to all that material that had gone through. And here's the most interesting notion. Having served through the Army and having gotten a little bit of battlefield medicine, Teddy Roosevelt realized that he wasn't coughing up blood. So he theorized, and it was later proven correct, that it didn't hit into his lung, and therefore was just there in the muscle. He could be good to go. He was bleeding a little bit, but largely he went on to go make that speech. He continued making the speech. Oh, yeah, he did go to the hospital afterwards, but Just imagine this. This man who's now close to his 60s, who had just been shot. Yes, it was by a bullet in 1910, so it wasn't exactly something that might have been as powerful as a hollow point nowadays, but just 12 years ago, his predecessor had been shot and died. But Teddy Roosevelt has been shot, and he gets right back up and says, and I quote, this is actually the famous quote on this, he begins with, "Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know whether you fully understand that I have just been shot, but it takes more than that to kill a bull moose." And he goes on through his entire speech. The entire speech that has a bullet hole in it. And then he goes to the hospital later, of course. But I mean, seriously, that is just one of those interesting stories about Teddy Roosevelt that just shows what kind of stalwart, just figure he was. Okay. So we're coming here on our war against Russia here. And first off, we're looking at a couple things that it's noticing. Now, it used to be that you were limited in your cities by, they had a figure that they figured that you could have X amount of cities as a civilization. You had to get pass through certain things to get cities. But now, how you find out how many cities you basically can have is each city needs a certain amount of gold to go. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We're at 8 cities, and they need 11 each. Some cities, of course, make their own money, so therefore they pay for themselves, and others have expenses that they need to have. Sorry, I'm kind of wrestling with my cat. He really wants to get into Daddy's lap, but Daddy is, of course, busy, so that's not going to happen. So right now we're losing 3.9 due to units and cities. We're getting about 23. Come on, Titan. Sorry. So we're going to need to find a way to make some more money pretty soon. It's not too bad yet. Obviously, we had a pretty decent war chest. But let's look through this really quickly. See what we can do for our expenses. Okay, we're making 2 there. It's not really showing how much. Okay, well, it is showing that Portland is making plus 2.1. And it's getting 5% from amenities. Let's see if there's any gold-producing areas we can get. Doesn't look like it. We could do some more production, though. Let's see. We're at 19. If we hop that off and swap it to there, 25. We're still making enough food to still survive. Let's see. Okay. Okay. So there we're getting 6 turns, and we're just making enough to start to keep growing. So that's that for Portland. Let's see, New Orleans. And we don't have any gold making here, so it's losing money, basically. But that's fine. We have 2 turns to grow. So we're not going to mess with the production yet because it's going to grow in 2 turns. So we'll move to Boston. There's a culture being made here and a little bit of gold, so they're actually making money. Plus 1 there. So we definitely need to get that builder over here in order to make it go. I think we have still a builder somewhere. Yeah. That builder is coming there. And we'll be working on the silk. So that'll be making a little bit of money. Let's look at St. Louis really quickly. I will get right into the war. I just want to make sure we get this going because, we don't need to be losing money. Let's see. If you look at the ledger here. Okay, so if we move off of this, we actually... Oh, no, we're fine. And the ancient walls will get built and we'll be at maximum production. Still So in reality, we essentially need to start making more money to balance this out. Obviously, some cities will have to be the major producers, like Washington here is a major producer. It's got the chocolate going for 4 gold. It's making a certain amount of gold just from these being existing. You see it's making 9.4. 4 from work tiles, 5 from buildings, the palace, which i.e. the headquarters here. See, because it's the city center that has a palace in it. It actually needs to be making something. Anyway, so you can do a temple, which that has maintenance of 2 gold, so that's not quite what we need. That's got maintenance of a gold. Alright, so it looks like there's nothing we can build really right now except for some of these projects can make gold. But we do need to build some housing, so let's see. Now, if we build a temple, as you can see here, we get more, not only do we get faith, we get more citizens, which can actually work some of that gold. A great profit point per turn, but all the profits are gone, so that doesn't matter. Here we are. We need to do an arena in order to make the amenities. I'm sorry, we need housing, not amenities, but, fix that. Here we are. We needed to do... Oh, no, that won't work either. Okay. So, it's starting to look like we might be about the maximum on housing here. Yeah, so we'll keep doing the arena. Hopefully that'll make some cash. Okay. Now, Philadelphia here is doing actually pretty well. It's making 10.5 gold. Mostly from work tiles, some trade routes. But they're close to getting that watermill going. Oh, I'm sorry, we need to get back to Boston. Right now it's suggesting an industrial... Or, you know what, let's do the industrial zone. We can actually use one of these that we aren't doing anything with anyway. In fact, let's double check. Yeah. We weren't doing anything with that food area, and it was one that didn't have any cogs on it, so... We're doing fine. So, Boston will be an industrial hub here. There we are. Here is Novgorod. Now, here's going to take a little bit to try and get some of this going. But actually, if we can see here, we can swap out one of these foods, which I know they don't like, but... And we are actually back to almost making money. In fact, what we can do is... We'll keep that... There's no growth right now due to being occupied. So once we get people off, then that should be fine. And then we have Baltimore here, which this is right now focused on food. So we'll next turn we'll see about getting some of these gold areas going. So that's about all we can do as far as gold farming. Unfortunately, we've got to the point where any further units or cities will end up eating into this war chest, which is fine, but regrettable. Okay, let's double check here. Okay. Let's move on to the next turn. What unit needs orders? This swordsman here. We'll give them a and then they can get renamed. And we did actually look up some more names. Let's get that going here. So we got the Dandy Warhols already. We have the Decembrists. We're trying to find another good name for a band. Let's see. Come here. Okay. No, we won't do that one. Ah, of course. Of course, of course, of course. Oh, there we go. Sorry about that. I should have had this ready beforehand. All right. So we've got the Decemberists, we've got the Dandy Warhols, and now another fairly popular alternative band. We've got the Shins. And in fact, an interesting thing is that the frontman for the Shins, James Mercer, owned the actual house that the album Roman Candle by Elliott Smith was actually produced in. So, just some random Portland factoids there, which I think are pretty cool. Of course I do, because I am a complete nerd. Alright, so let's get to the next turn. We'll move ahead with our conquest of certain things. Now, I'm not sure if we can't land here due to the fact that there's these barbarians here, or... Okay, hopefully that's just because of the barbarians. Let's try... Yeah, oh, good. Come on. So it was due to the barbarians being there. So we'll do a bit of an amphibious assault on this side. We'll have... I don't think we can do that with Amsterdam. They won't like that. So we're going to have to go over to the side here. Okay. Okay, so we're going to try and get make sure that we have these guys camped out here. We are not going to get them stuck because we just don't need that. Okay, so we've got a couple of things here now. So Baltimore has definitely got food going for it because it's going to be in 5. So we'll actually swap this guy out for... No. That. That'll get us closer on our goal. And St. Louis has its ancient walls finished. So we can move it to something. How about a... We're going to do a watermill there. That's all we could do for... Was it Boston, I think, had a new person coming in? Okay, I think they're already there then. New Orleans will have a new person next round, and I think it was Philadelphia. Yeah, okay. Looks like we're pretty well maximized. Come on. Okay. So looks like we're maximized on any money we can make. It's still making 9.4. Novgorod can't do anything yet until it actually deems itself to be unoccupied. Actually, I think it was Washington. Yes. Alright. Okay, we're perfectly fine with Washington not going as... So, we're actually going to maximize... There we go. It's gold making, so we start making money again. It's only 9 turns, and looks like 311 turns till growth. Or is it 31.1? No, that's 311. So they're making just enough food to actually maintain, but not to starve, which is perfectly fine. And now we're starting to make money again. And I think Washington may have maximized. Oh, there we go. Yes, Washington... Okay, never mind. So they'll actually get to that chocolate, which that will help with the gold farming quite a bit, actually. right. So we don't need to worry about our money woes. Not that we had any money woes. I mean, we were only losing about 3 gold per turn, but now we're fine again. We're now making a 1.5. We've got a bit of an expense going, but now we're actually balanced out. Doing a quick time check. All right, so we're going to put a pin in here. Don't worry, we're going to get right back to the war. I know this took a little bit getting some of this going, but we had to make sure we got our gold farming correct so we weren't losing money. All right, so we're going to get that put in here. We are moving it forward on our conquering of St. Petersburg. And, yeah, with that, I hope you have a very excellent rest of your day. And then class dismissed.